ever dream of like escaping, just ditching the bills and the daily grind and having that place where you make the rules.
Yeah.
We're talking true self-sufficiency, off-the-grid living.
Right.
And today, we're going to unpack that dream.
Okay.
Go a little deeper than just that kind of romantic vision of it and really dive into what it actually takes to make this happen.
Awesome.
We have an expert here who's going to help us do just that.
Hello?
And we are looking at a guide today by OnlineLandSales.com,
Oh, yeah. Great resource.
a company that's been kind of pioneering and making off-grid land ownership way more accessible.
Definitely more accessible than ever before.
Which is really interesting. Now, they've been pushing this idea of seller financing,
Yeah.
which sounds amazing, like right off the bat.
Yeah, on the surface.
But how does that actually compare to like a traditional mortgage?
Right.
Is it truly more affordable, or are there kind of hidden catches?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's important to understand kind of the nuances, right? So OnlineLandSales.com, they boast down payments as low as $121.
Wow.
No credit checks and guaranteed financing.
Really?
So on the surface, it really does seem like a dream, especially for those who might not qualify for a traditional bank loan.
I was going to say that's got to open up a lot more possibilities for people.
Totally. And it really can be a dream,
Okay.
but I think we need to look at the full picture here.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the trade-off for that ease of access?
So as with any loan, there's inherent risks.
Right.
Interest rates with seller financing tend to be higher than those offered by banks.
Okay.
And while that no credit check aspect sounds appealing,
Yeah.
it also means you might be taking on a loan that's not ideally structured for your specific financial situation.
So you're saying it's not just a free pass to land ownership.
No, not at all.
You still need to be financially savvy and understand the long-term kind of implications of what you're getting into.
Absolutely. And foreclosure is still a possibility with seller financing, just as it is with traditional mortgages.
Right.
So OnlineLandSales.com simplifies the contracts.
Okay.
They even provide online management tools.
Oh, wow.
But it's still crucial to approach it with that clear understanding of your financial commitments.
Gotcha. So it's really about empowering yourself with knowledge,
Yes,
not just jumping into something without really grasping all of the implications.
exactly. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So beyond the financing aspect of it,
Yes.
let's talk about the why.
Okay.
Why this whole off-grid movement is even a thing. Because it's more than just wanting like cheap land.
Total.
It's a whole shift in the way that you live your life.
100%.
So it's that image, right, of the wide open spaces,
Yeah.
starry skies, and just living in sync with nature.
Right.
It's appealing.
Totally.
But what are some unexpected realities that people often overlook when they're kind of romanticizing this lifestyle?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that off-grid living means complete isolation.
Okay.
So while you will have more privacy and space,
Yeah.
building a sense of community is really vital,
Okay.
especially for those times when you need help or you want to share resources with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And OnlineLandSales.com actually has a really great online community portal
Oh, really?
where buyers can actually connect with each other.
So it's not just about like acquiring land.
Yeah.
It's about being a part of this network.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. I think another thing that people often underestimate is the level of self-sufficiency that's required.
Okay.
So we're talking about being responsible for everything from your water, your
Wow.
power to waste management, even basic repairs.
Okay, so you're saying a toolbox and a can-do attitude are pretty much non-negotiable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond just fixing things.
Okay.
You need to understand how your systems work,
Right.
from solar panels and batteries to water pumps and generators.
So you're saying you have to become intimately familiar with the infrastructure that sustains your life.
Yeah, you become the engineer of your own little ecosystem.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crucial to have backup plans, right? So like, what if your power goes out?
Right.
Do you have alternative energy sources?
Mhm.
What about water,
Yeah.
food storage?
Mhm.
These are all things to think about.
So it sounds like a constant process of planning
Yeah,
and preparation,
Yeah.
always kind of anticipating these potential challenges.
absolutely.
But while convenient, doesn't online land buying carry risks?
Oh, of course.
How does OnlineLandSales.com mitigate potential issues like inaccurate property representations?
Well, one of the ways they do that is through really detailed property descriptions,
Okay.
multiple pictures, and they even offer aerial imagery
Oh, wow.
They also offer a satisfaction guarantee
Okay.
that allows buyers to return a property if they aren't happy with it.
Oh, wow. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So there's transparency and there's recourse when you're making such a big decision.
Big time.
Okay, good.
It really go above and beyond to help buyers understand what they're getting into.
It seems like they've really thought this through,
Mm.
catering to a very specific audience and anticipating their needs.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it really highlights their commitment to helping buyers find the perfect piece of land for their off-grid dreams, which is great.
I love that.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about water for a second, because that's the lifeblood of any homestead.
100%. You can't live without it.
What are some common options
Yeah.
for off-grid water sources?
Well, wells are a popular choice.
Okay.
They tap into those underground aquifers.
Mm-hmm.
But drilling a well can be costly,
Okay.
and not all properties have that suitable groundwater.
Right.
So you might consider something like rainwater harvesting,
Okay.
collecting and storing rainwater from rooftops.
That's a really clever solution,
Yeah.
especially if you're aiming for that truly self-sufficient setup.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you need like a massive storage tank to collect enough water for drinking and cooking and everything else?
You definitely need adequate storage,
Okay.
but it might not be as massive as you think.
Okay.
Properly sized systems can collect a surprising amount of water,
Oh, wow.
and there are various tank options,
Okay.
from above ground to underground, to suit different properties and aesthetics.
So even the water system
Yeah.
involves strategic planning
Totally.
and design choices.
Mhm.
It's not just about having land.
Yep.
It's about understanding how to create a functional
Yeah,
and sustainable
Right.
off-grid system.
exactly. And let's not forget about waste management.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Traditional sewage systems aren't really an option off-grid.
So what are the alternatives?
Composting toilets are a pretty popular choice.
Okay.
So they use natural processes to break down waste, which eliminates the need for those water-intensive flushing systems.
So composting toilets? That's something I've heard about but never really understood.
Yeah.
How do they work and are they, pleasant to use?
They've come a long way,
Okay.
especially in recent years,
Okay.
with designs that are very efficient, odorless,
Oh, good.
and surprisingly user-friendly.
Okay.
So instead of flushing, waste is composted in a separate chamber.
Oh, okay.
And what you get is this nutrient-rich compost that can be used to fertilize non-edible plants.
So even your waste becomes a resource.
Right.
That's fascinating how off-grid living really encourages this cyclical way of thinking.
Yeah.
Minimizing waste, maximizing resource utilization.
Yeah, it's all about closing the loop
Mm-hmm.
and creating a truly sustainable ecosystem.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic, building an off-grid homestead
Yeah,
requires an initial investment.
for sure.
So while attractive, are there hidden costs or future tax increases
Mm-hmm.
off-gridders should be aware of in these specific locations?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
We've talked about the low down payments and the potential for lower property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But are there any financial surprises
Right.
lurking down the road?
Well, it's wise to be aware of potential costs, like impact fees for connecting to utilities,
Okay.
if you choose to do so later on.
Okay.
And while property taxes are generally low on rural land,
Yeah.
they can fluctuate depending on local factors.
Okay.
So it's always best to check with the county assessor's office
Okay.
to get a really clear understanding of future tax implications.
So due diligence is key,
Yes.
even when it comes to those seemingly small expenses.
Yeah,
It's about having a realistic budget and being prepared for those unexpected costs.
for sure.
All right, so let's shift gears for a second
Oh,
and,
right.
and delve into the actual process of acquiring
Yeah.
off-grid land online.
Okay.
What can listeners expect when navigating onlinelandsales.com's platform?
Well, it's surprisingly user-friendly.
Really?
Very much like browsing any e-commerce site.
Okay.
You can filter properties by location,
Okay.
size,
Mm-hmm.
price range,
Wow.
and even terrain features.
Cool.
They provide really detailed descriptions,
Okay.
multiple photos, and often even drone footage
Oh, wow.
to give you a virtual tour of the land.
So it's like online shopping for land, but with much higher stakes?
Yeah, that's a very fair comparison.
Right.
And because they own the land outright,
Okay.
they can offer seller financing
Mm-hmm.
without the complexities of bank involvement.
Oh, okay.
Plus, they're cutting out the middleman.
Okay.
So there are no real estate agent fees or commissions.
So it's a very streamlined approach,
Exactly.
which I imagine contributes to their competitive pricing.
Right.
It sounds like a win-win
Totally.
for both the buyer and onlinelandsales.com.
Yeah.
But what happens after you've found that piece of land that speaks to your soul?
Well, you can typically reserve it with a small down payment,
Okay.
which secures it while you finalize the details.
Okay.
And onlinelandsales.com prepares the contracts, which are designed to be very straightforward and easy to understand, unlike some of the legalese-filled documents you might encounter with a traditional mortgage.
Okay. That sounds reassuring.
Yeah.
Especially for those who might be a little intimidated by complex legal jargon.
Right.
But what about the legal aspects of this?
Okay.
It's a big decision.
Yeah.
Purchasing land.
Mm-hmm.
How does onlinelandsales.com ensure that buyers are fully informed about their rights and
Yeah.
their responsibilities as landowners?
Well, they have a team of experts available
Okay.
to answer any questions and offer guidance
Okay.
throughout the entire process.
Okay.
They also encourage buyers to consult their own attorneys
Okay.
if they have specific concerns or need additional legal advice.
So there's support available every step of the way,
Oh, yeah.
which is crucial for a decision as significant as purchasing land.
Absolutely. It's a big one.
So once you've secured your piece of off-grid paradise,
Right.
the real adventure begins actually living off the grid.
Yeah.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What are some must-have skills or knowledge that aspiring off-gridders should acquire?
Self-reliance is key.
Okay.
You'll need to be comfortable with basic plumbing,
Okay.
electrical work,
Mm-hmm.
and even engine repair.
All right, so let me ask you this.
Okay.
Imagine a scenario where your water pump malfunctions.
Yeah.
You won't be able to just call a plumber
Nope.
in a remote off-grid setting.
You got to figure it out yourself.
So a toolbox and a willingness to get your hands dirty are essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond just fixing things.
Okay.
You need to understand how your systems work,
Right.
from solar panels and batteries
Mhm.
to water pumps and generators.
It's about being intimately familiar with the infrastructure that sustains your life.
Yeah, you become the engineer
Yeah.
of your own little ecosystem.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's crucial to have backup plans.
Okay.
What if your power goes out?
Mhm.
Do you have alternative energy sources?
Okay.
What about water,
Right.
food storage?
Yeah.
These are all things to think about.
So it sounds like a constant process of planning and preparation,
Yeah.
always anticipating potential challenges.
Exactly.
Many romanticize off-grid life, but what are some unexpected challenges you've encountered?
Ooh, good question.
How did you adapt?
One of the biggest challenges is finding reliable internet access,
Really?
especially, in our increasingly digital world.
Yeah.
Staying connected is essential for work,
Of course.
communication, and even accessing information for those DIY projects we were talking about.
That's something that many people probably don't consider.
Yeah.
What solutions are out there
Yeah.
for off-gridders who need to stay connected?
Well, satellite internet is an option,
Right.
but it can be expensive
Right.
and have data limitations.
Okay.
Mobile hotspots are another possibility.
Yeah.
Depending on cell service availability in your area,
Mm-hmm.
some off-gridders get creative.
Okay.
They set up mesh networks,
Oh.
or they explore community-based internet solutions.
So it requires a little bit of ingenuity and adaptability
Totally.
to overcome those connectivity hurdles.
Yeah, for sure.
What about another one?
Another challenge I've personally experienced is dealing with unexpected wildlife encounters.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on your location,
Mm-hmm.
you might have to contend with curious critters.
Okay.
And in some cases, animals that pose a potential threat to your livestock
Oh, wow.
or even your safety.
That sounds a little intense.
It can be.
So how do you prepare for that?
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to someone who might be apprehensive about wildlife encounters?
Well, researching the local fauna is crucial.
Okay.
Understanding their behavior and any potential risks.
Mm-hmm.
So secure fencing for livestock,
Okay.
motion-activated lights,
Okay.
and even learning non-lethal deterrents like noisemakers or pepper spray
Mm-hmm.
can help mitigate risks.
Okay.
Honestly, sometimes it's just about accepting that you're sharing the land with other creatures
Yeah.
and learning to coexist peacefully.
That's a good point. It's a reminder that off-grid living is really about integrating into nature's rhythms,
Totally.
not dominating or controlling the environment.
Right. And it's not just about the physical challenges.
Okay.
Off-grid living can be mentally demanding too.
Okay. In what way?
Well, it's a constant process of problem solving,
Yeah.
adapting to changing conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with those unexpected situations.
Right.
So resilience and resourcefulness
Yeah.
are essential traits for thriving in this lifestyle.
So it sounds like it's a test of character,
Yeah.
pushing you to rely on your own ingenuity and overcome these obstacles.
Absolutely, and it definitely can be, but that sense of accomplishment,
Yeah.
when you successfully navigate a challenge,
Yeah.
whether it's fixing a broken well pump or weathering a storm,
Right.
that is incredibly rewarding.
It's that feeling of self-sufficiency
Totally.
and knowing you can rely on your own skills to handle whatever comes your way.
Exactly. But let's not forget about the positive aspects
Right.
of off-grid living. The peace and quiet, the connection to nature, the
Mhm.
feeling of freedom and autonomy.
Yeah.
Those are the things that draw people to this lifestyle in the first place.
Yeah.
Imagine waking up to the sound of birdsong,
I love that.
spending your days working on your homestead,
Mhm.
and enjoying evenings under a sky full of stars.
Yeah.
Those moments make the challenges worthwhile.
It's about finding that balance between the hard work
Yeah.
and the rewards, embracing the simplicity
Yeah,
and the challenges that come with living in sync with nature.
absolutely.
So now let's talk about a topic that comes up often when we're discussing off-grid living, financial independence.
Okay.
Is it actually possible to achieve financial freedom by living off the grid?
It's a great question.
It's an enticing idea,
Highly.
escaping the rat race
Yeah.
and living that debt-free life.
Mm.
But how realistic is that for the average person
Yeah.
who might be considering this lifestyle?
Well, it's certainly possible, but it requires a shift in mindset
Okay.
and a willingness to embrace a simpler, more frugal lifestyle.
Okay.
So one of the biggest financial advantages of off-grid living is that you typically own your land outright.
Oh,
So you're eliminating that burden of a mortgage payment.
That's huge, considering how much of our income often goes towards housing costs.
Yeah, huge. Exactly.
Mhm.
And as we discussed, property taxes on rural land are generally lower
Okay.
than in urban or suburban areas.
Mm-hmm.
You're also saving money on utilities
Yeah.
by generating your own power and water.
Right.
Although the initial investment in those systems
Yeah.
can be significant.
So the initial investment can lead to long-term savings.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And many off-gridders choose to grow their own food,
Okay.
which reduces or even eliminates grocery bills.
Right.
Some even generate income
Oh, wow.
by selling surplus produce
Okay.
or handmade goods at local markets or online.
So it's like creating this microeconomy
Yep.
within your own homestead, becoming a producer rather than just a consumer.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And let's not forget about those intangible benefits.
Okay.
Off-grid living often leads to a greater appreciation for nature,
Mm-hmm.
a simpler lifestyle,
Right.
and a sense of accomplishment
Yeah.
that comes from self-reliance.
It's a very holistic approach to well-being,
Totally.
encompassing both financial and emotional freedom.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic, not everyone is cut out for this lifestyle.
Right.
What are some personality traits or
Oh,
values
yeah.
that might indicate someone is well suited for off-grid living?
Well, off-grid living requires a certain level of independence,
Okay.
resourcefulness,
Mm-hmm.
and resilience.
Okay.
You need to be comfortable with solitude,
Okay.
enjoy problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
and have a willingness to learn new skills.
So it's not just about escaping the city.
Yeah.
It's about embracing a different way of life
Totally.
that demands adaptability and
Yeah.
a can-do spirit.
Exactly. And it's important to be honest with yourself about your motivations
Okay.
and your expectations.
Yeah.
Off-grid living isn't a quick fix for life's problems.
Right.
It's
Correct.
definitely not a vacation.
Yeah.
It's a commitment to a more self-sufficient
Right.
and often demanding lifestyle.
So it's a very conscious choice to step outside the comforts
Yeah.
and conveniences of modern society and embrace a more hands-on approach to life.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's address a question
Okay.
that's often on the minds of aspiring off-gridders.
Mm-hmm.
Safety and security.
Yeah.
Living in remote areas can raise concerns about personal safety and the security of your property.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you address those concerns?
It's important to be aware of potential risks and take the appropriate precautions.
Right.
For example, you might consider installing security systems,
Okay.
learning self-defense techniques,
Mm-hmm.
or connecting with neighbors for mutual support.
So it's about being prepared
Yeah.
and proactive,
Mhm.
just like with any aspect of off-grid living.
Right. And it's important to remember that off-grid living doesn't mean isolating yourself completely.
Okay.
Building relationships with neighbors and local law enforcement can enhance your safety and create a sense of community.
So it's about finding that balance
Yeah,
between self-reliance and social connection,
exactly.
even in remote locations.
Even in those remote locations.
Okay, so let's shift gears one last time
Okay.
and talk about the environmental impact
Hmm.
of off-grid living.
Okay.
This is a crucial aspect to consider.
Yeah.
How does living off the grid affect the environment both positively and potentially negatively?
Well, on the positive side, off-grid living often involves reducing your reliance on fossil fuels
Okay,
by generating your own renewable energy.
right.
You're also minimizing your water usage, reducing waste,
Yeah.
and often growing your own food organically.
So it's really about living in harmony with nature
Yeah,
and minimizing your ecological footprint.
totally.
Yeah.
However, it's important to be mindful of potential negative impacts.
Okay, so what would some of those be?
Well, for example, clearing land for your homestead
Yeah.
can disrupt local ecosystems if not done thoughtfully.
Okay.
And using generators or other equipment powered by fossil fuels
Right.
can still contribute to air and noise pollution.
So it's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between self-sufficiency and environmental responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's important to research and implement sustainable practices
Okay.
that minimize your impact on the surrounding environment.
So like what?
Well, for example, you might consider using native plants in your landscaping,
Okay.
practicing water conservation, composting food scraps,
Okay.
those kinds of things.
So it's about being a steward of the land,
Yeah.
not just a consumer of its resources.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Right.
I want to touch on a topic that's often romanticized, but can also be challenging.
Okay.
The emotional and psychological aspects
Okay.
of off-grid living.
Yeah. This is an important aspect that's often overlooked.
What are some of the emotional and psychological adjustments that people might need to make when transitioning to an off-grid lifestyle?
One of the biggest adjustments is often the sense of isolation.
Okay.
Even if you have a family or you connect with neighbors, there's a different level of solitude
Yeah.
that comes with living in remote areas.
So it's about finding ways to cope with that solitude
Definitely.
and create a fulfilling life despite the lack of constant social interaction.
Right. And it's not just about social isolation.
Okay.
Off-grid living can also be physically and mentally demanding.
Okay.
You're constantly problem solving,
Yeah.
adapting to changing conditions,
Right.
and dealing with the unexpected.
Yeah, it's a test of resilience
Totally.
and resourcefulness.
It is, and it's important to have coping mechanisms in place
Okay.
to deal with stress, frustration,
Yeah.
and the occasional bout of loneliness.
Right.
So finding activities that bring you joy,
Okay.
connecting with nature,
Yeah.
and practicing self-care are all essential.
Good advice.
Some people find solace in creative pursuits like writing,
Okay.
painting, or woodworking.
Mhm.
Others connect with like-minded individuals through online communities
Right.
or local gatherings.
So off-grid living is not just about physical skills
No.
and practical knowledge.
Right.
It's also about cultivating emotional intelligence
Yeah.
and a mindset that embraces challenges as opportunities for growth.
Absolutely.
It's about understanding your own needs
Yeah.
and finding ways to thrive in an environment that
Yeah.
can be both demanding and incredibly rewarding.
It's both, for sure.
So it sounds like off-grid living is as much an inner journey
Totally.
as it is an external one.
100%.
It's about finding that balance between self-sufficiency and self-awareness,
Yeah.
knowing your limits and pushing yourself to grow.
Exactly.
Now, shifting our focus back to onlinelandsales.com,
Okay.
we've talked about their unique approach and the benefits that they offer. But I'm curious, what are some potential downsides or concerns
Yeah.
buyers should be aware of when considering this platform?
Well, that's a great question. And it's important to approach any major purchase with a critical eye.
Okay.
So one potential concern with buying land online
Yeah,
is the lack of a physical inspection.
that makes sense.
You're relying on photos,
Huh.
descriptions, and potentially drone footage to assess the property.
And while they offer a satisfaction guarantee, as you mentioned earlier,
Right.
it's still a risk to purchase land without setting foot on it.
It is.
So how can potential buyers mitigate that risk
Yeah.
and make a more informed decision?
Well, onlinelandsales.com encourages buyers to do their own research,
Okay.
contacting local officials to verify zoning regulations,
Okay.
researching the history of the property,
Mm-hmm.
and even hiring a local surveyor
Oh.
for an independent assessment are all good practices.
So it's about being proactive.
Yeah.
And not solely relying on the information provided by the seller, even if that seller has a really good reputation.
Exactly. Due diligence is crucial.
Okay.
Another potential downside is that onlinelandsales.com primarily offers land in specific locations,
Okay.
mainly in the central and southern United States.
Okay.
This might limit options for buyers who have their hearts set on a specific region or climate.
So flexibility and an open mind about location are important when considering this platform.
Totally.
And while seller financing can be
a great option for those who don't qualify for traditional loans.
right,
It's essential to thoroughly understand the terms and compare interest rates with other financing options.
Okay.
Don't just assume it's the best deal without doing your homework.
So again, it's that theme of informed empowerment,
Yeah.
knowing your options and making a decision that aligns with your financial situation and long-term goals.
Exactly.
Now taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture,
Yep.
what trends or innovations do you see shaping the future of off-grid living? It seems like this movement is gaining momentum.
It really is.
What's on the horizon for off-grid living?
Well, I think we'll continue to see advancements in off-grid technology, making it even easier and more affordable to live sustainably. We're already witnessing incredible innovations in solar power,
Okay.
battery storage, and water filtration systems.
So off-grid living is becoming more efficient
Yeah.
and accessible,
More accessible.
even for those who might not have considered it before.
Right. And I think we'll also see a growing emphasis on community and collaboration.
Okay.
Off-gridders are realizing they are stronger together,
Right.
and we're seeing the emergence of intentional communities
Okay.
and co-housing projects designed specifically for off-grid living.
It's like a modern-day pioneering spirit,
Yeah,
but with a focus on shared resources and supporting each other.
exactly.
I love that.
And I believe we'll see an even greater emphasis on regenerative living.
Okay.
But, going beyond just sustainability to actually restoring and enhancing the ecosystems we inhabit.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, this involves practices like permaculture,
Okay.
agroforestry, and natural building techniques that work in harmony with nature.
So it's not just about minimizing our impact.
No.
It's about actively contributing to the health of the planet.
Exactly. Off-grid living has the potential to be a truly regenerative force,
Yeah.
showcasing how humans can live in a way that benefits both ourselves and the environment.
This has been an incredibly insightful journey
Yeah, it has.
into the world of off-grid living,
Totally.
exploring the practicalities, the challenges, the rewards,
That's sure.
and even the potential future of this movement.
The future is bright.
As we wrap up our deep dive,
Yeah.
what final thoughts would you like to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think off-grid living is more than just a lifestyle.
Okay.
It's a philosophy. It's about taking responsibility for your own needs, connecting with nature, and living in a way that aligns with your values.
I like that.
It's not for everyone,
Right.
but for those who are drawn to it, it can be an incredibly fulfilling and empowering path.
Well said. And for our listeners who are feeling inspired and want to explore this further, I encourage you to do your research,
Yes,
connect with experienced off-gridders,
for sure.
and maybe even dip your toes into this world
Yeah,
with a short-term off-grid experience.
good idea.
You never know. You might just discover a passion and a way of life you never knew existed.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into off-the-grid land ownership. And until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah, it really seems like it requires a lot of inner work as much as it does that outer work.
Definitely.
So it's that balance of being self-sufficient, but also being self-aware, knowing when to push yourself and knowing when to step back.
Yeah.
So now, shifting our focus back to onlinelandsales.com.
We've talked about their unique approach and the benefits that they offer. But I'm curious, what are some potential downsides or concerns buyers should be aware of when they're considering this platform?
That's a really important question, and I think it's smart to approach any big purchase with a critical eye, right?
Yeah, of course.
So one potential concern with buying land online is the lack of a physical inspection.
That makes sense.
You're relying on photos, descriptions, and maybe drone footage to actually assess the property.
Yeah, and even though they offer a satisfaction guarantee,
Right.
which you mentioned before,
Yeah.
it's still kind of a risk purchasing land without actually going there and walking on it.
It is.
So how can potential buyers mitigate that risk
Yeah.
and make a more informed decision?
Well, one thing that onlinelandsales.com encourages is for buyers to do their own research.
Okay.
So things like contacting local officials to verify zoning regulations, researching the history of the property, even hiring a local surveyor for an independent assessment.
So it's about being proactive and not just taking what the seller is saying at face value.
Yeah, exactly. Due diligence is so important.
All right, so another potential downside is that onlinelandsales.com primarily offers land in specific locations, mostly in the central and southern U.S.
Right.
So that could limit options for buyers who maybe have their heart set on a specific region or climate.
Totally.
So being flexible and having an open mind about location is important when you're considering using this platform.
Definitely.
And while seller financing can be a good option for those who don't qualify for traditional loans,
Right.
you've got to thoroughly understand those terms and compare interest rates with other financing options.
Totally.
Don't just assume it's the best deal without doing your homework.
Right. You always want to do your homework.
Again, it's that theme of informed empowerment.
Yep.
Knowing all of your options and making a decision that really aligns with your financial situation and those long-term goals. So, taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture here,
Okay.
what trends and innovations do you see shaping the future of off-grid living? I mean, it seems like this movement is really gaining some momentum.
It really is.
So what's on the horizon?
Well, I think we'll continue to see advancements in off-grid technology,
Oh, okay.
which is going to make it even easier and more affordable to live sustainably.
That's great.
We're already seeing really cool innovations in solar power, battery storage, and water filtration systems.
So it's becoming even more efficient and even more accessible.
Oh, yeah, way more accessible.
Even for those who might not have even considered it before.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And I also think we'll see a growing emphasis on community and collaboration.
Okay, how so?
Off-gridders are realizing that they're stronger together.
Yeah?
And we're seeing the emergence of these intentional communities
and
co-housing projects designed specifically for off-grid living.
So it's like this modern-day pioneering spirit, but with a focus on sharing those resources and supporting each other.
Exactly.
I love that.
And I think we'll also see a greater emphasis on what's called regenerative living.
Okay, what's that?
So it's going beyond sustainability to actually restoring and enhancing the ecosystems that we're inhabiting.
Oh, wow. So it's not just minimizing our impact. We're actually contributing to the health of the planet.
Exactly. And this involves practices like permaculture, agroforestry, and natural building techniques that work in harmony with nature.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
So off-grid living really has the potential to be a truly regenerative force.
Yeah.
Showcasing how we can live in a way that benefits us and the environment.
This has been a really incredible journey.
It has.
Diving into this world of off-grid living, exploring all the practicalities, the challenges, the rewards.
For sure.
And like you said, the potential future of this movement.
The future is bright.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
okay,
what final thoughts would you like to leave with our listeners?
Well, off-grid living, it's more than just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy.
Okay.
It's about taking responsibility for your needs, connecting with nature, and living in a way that aligns with your values.
I like that.
And, it's not for everyone.
Right.
But for those who are drawn to it, it can be such a fulfilling and empowering path.
It really can.
Yeah.
And for our listeners who are feeling inspired and want to explore this further, do your research, connect with experienced off-gridders.
Yeah.
Maybe even dip your toes into this world with a short-term off-grid experience.
That's a great idea.
You never know, you might discover a passion.
Totally.
And a way of life you never knew existed.
That's the beauty of it.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into off-the-grid land ownership.
Yeah, this was fun.
And until next time, keep exploring.